He said, be brave, my son, I'll be home soon. The boy held on to hope till he got that awful news. And as they folded up the stars and stripes, 21 guns pointed towards the sky. As the shots rang out, he flinched a little each time. Then a soldier in his best dress walked up to him, and you know the rest.
This show is brought to you by Operation Encore. Operation Encore is a 501c nonprofit that is helping change the lives of our veteran community. Let me tell you a little bit about what they do. They are helping veterans get into the music industry. They're helping them learn the business, get songs recorded, and not only that, making dreams happen. You know, most of these veterans have got the idea of becoming a musician way before they went into the military. And Operation Encore is filling that gap from while they served in the military and helping them change their lives and live out those dreams. Operation Encore is a nonprofit. You can go to this link right there and click on it, give them a little help, hit that donate button, follow them, learn about all the great things that Operation Encore does for our veterans. Hey, welcome everybody to Spirits and Stories. This is your host, Donald Dunn. You know, another one of my favorite episodes is coming up. We're going to talk about the paranormal. I absolutely love talking about the unknown. Not to mention, this gentleman is also an author. And since I have just released my first book, I find it interesting to talk to other authors. So let's introduce Ron Millis. Is a native Clevelander residing in Columbus. I hope he doesn't hold it against me because I got a Bengal chair that I sit in. But he is residing in Columbus, Ohio. He is the former host of an internet paranormal radio show and has always been interested in the weird, strange, and paranormal. In 2004, Ron released a supernatural fiction novel titled Healers. And in the midst of the 2021 COVID pandemic, Ron released an updated paperback version of Healers, 3 Tales of Miracles, Angels, and Lost Souls. Let's bring on Ron. There we go.
Donald?
Hey, how's it going?
Okay,
All right,
good,
man.
good. Thank you for having me. Thank you.
Oh,
No, I'm not going to be too mad at you. It's at the Bengals, but I grew up in Cleveland, Ohio, and went
yeah,
to Columbus for work. So I'm not going to be too mad at you. If
okay.
you're in a Steelers here, I might be mad at you.
I would be mad at myself. You know, I do kind of live right now in the best place to be a Bengals fan, and I live near Kansas City. So the Bengals are doing good against Old Mahomes. So I'll take it. I'll take it. So let's get into a little bit. Tell everybody a little bit about yourself and where you grew up and how did you get into the radio and the paranormal?
I grew up in Cleveland, Ohio. Uh, Born and raised there. Left for Columbus, for a job. Was a social worker for 32, 33 years. You have to excuse my voice. I'm getting over a little bout of COVID. And so went there for a job, pretty much stayed for a long time. So in Columbus working. Um, I've always really, really been interested in the paranormal. As a kid, I remember, watched In Search of with Leonard Nimoy. Love Star Trek.
Yep.
Um, I One of the first things I want to stay up and see. Uh, this is when in the 3 big TV stations, ABC, NBC, and what's the other one?
CBS.
Yeah, CBS. They had they would make movies for movies of the week for their
Hmm.
station. And I saw one evening, was coming up was the UFO incident, and it had James Earl Jones and Estelle Parsons in it, and it's about Betty and Barney Hill, the UFO incident when
Hmm.
they were, captured and taken in a UFO. And I think I don't know how old was this, 1975. I was young then. I was like, so I think I was 13 or something, uh, 12. Begged my mom and said, "Let me stay up, let me stay up, let me stay up." I want to see this. I want to see it. Begging her. So yeah, okay, okay, you can stay up and watch it. She said, but she thought I'd be asleep anyway. So I went all the way to 11 o'clock. I was wide awake. Just mesmerized by the whole thing. This is really true. And I'm thinking to myself, it was just amazing. So I've always been interested in the weird, the strange, and the paranormal. And when I got to when I got to Columbus, um, I did a little. I was bringing these guys in that had a show called The Chosen on Talktainment Radio. There's some podcasts were getting in their infancy and getting big.
Hmm.
So these other four, these other four guys were supposed to be introduced, and they're supposed to be doing a 2-hour thing talking about the paranormal. And I did some of the ins and outs and stuff. We'll be right back with The Chosen. And they were they just talked among themselves. They didn't really have any guests.
Hmm.
And I'm a guy that listened to Coast to Coast, and I was like, why don't they get any guests? I'm thinking to myself, and I did get them their first guest, and their first guest was Howard Storm, and he wrote a book by Descent into Hell. And he
Hmm.
talked about having a near-death experience and not going there, a nice place. He went to hell, you know. And he became a pastor after the whole incident. So I got him to come on the show, because it's, he was running a church in Ohio. So they didn't really do their due diligence to do their research or
Hmm.
anything. So I was asking most of the questions and everything. So and they kind of like just they would they just didn't do enough research. They didn't seem to take it serious to me.
Right.
So then we had a meeting and stuff like that, and I went to get other show hosts and stuff to show people to come in and talk about their incidents and everything. So it's just kind of relegate me again, just do the ins and outs and stuff. You're listening to The Chosen, heard only on Talktainment Radio. So they had a meeting one time, and because I wanted to get somebody else, I had a meeting, and the guy who kind of owned the studio and stuff, well, they didn't show up. Guess they're mad at you or something like that. They didn't show up. I don't know if they're gonna show up for the show. We're not gonna have a show tonight. I guess they were protesting me. He said, "You want to take over the show and do it yourself?" And I said, "Oh my God, I was waiting for you to ask me." You know, so 5 years I was doing that. I think from 2008 and stuff. 5 years I was doing it, and it's going to be guest driven. Yeah, just I'm not going to, because when you did have a guest, the way they question the guest is that we don't. Only thing we truly know is what we don't know.
Yeah.
How many times have we thought somebody was crazy and they weren't? You know, and that's for the audience to decide. You just ask the questions,
Yeah.
and you go from there. And he was like, "Well, what are the things that you want to do there and stuff?" And I was like, "Time travel, cryptozoology, spontaneous human combustion, history secrets, religions, strange religions, government conspiracies, alien abductions." I wanted to do it all. Uh, ghost apparitions, shadow people, haunted places. So I
Yeah.
started getting guests, and it was I was working on getting guests at first, and then they kind of came to me. Books are coming and stuff, and
Hmm.
and so you know every Monday I was there Monday nights, with guests, and so it turned from there, and it really the guests I wanted because I wanted to learn from them. I wanted to learn what they know,
Yeah.
and my tagline was doubt if you dare, but believe if you have the courage because you're listening to the chosen, and I was really into it, and I got a lot of tons of books from people and stuff,
Hmm.
and people that I heard on coast to coast. And I said, I just wanted to do it like that. I wanted to learn as much as I could. So,
Yeah. Look, at the end of the day, I had a guest on, and I haven't released that episode yet, but I had a guest on, and he's really big into the paranormal as well. And he said something on there that really made sense, right? At the end of the day, none of us know anything about ghosts and stuff like that until we die. Up
hmm
until then, everything's a theory.
hmm
And so, unless you are out there interacting with other people and taking in information, it's going to be hard for you to base that theory and kind of mold it. Because at the end of the day, you need other people's encounters and perspectives and everything else. Because the truth is, we're not going to know until we die what's on the other side. And I do personally believe, I was telling him on that show that at the end of the day, when my dad had passed, before we buried him, I seen him standing by a window. And to this day, I'll still swear on that. And then I haven't seen him since, you know? And so I do believe in the paranormal. I do believe that we're not the only existence in the world. And I also believe that the human mind has got a whole lot more potential than what we're
hmm
using. So I do believe in things like psychics and levitation and stuff like that. So absolutely, that is the best way to learn. Just like you said, having guests on and creating conversation.
hmm I I had a couple of paranormal experiences, and this building I was in, it was haunted. And this before I got to Columbus and before I was introduced to the show and everything. Um, I was staying in this building, and it was a building probably in the 1920s, and they converted it to apartments. It had like a marble floor. It had the one I was in, they made them efficiencies. It had a Murphy bed in there. It had a Murphy bed at the wall. So I was like, when I
Okay.
moved in there, like it even had a mattress. I said, I'm not gonna sleep on that thing. I was like, I was thinking the Three Stooges, you get in it, goes up, you get trapped in the wall. It had a queen size or full size Murphy bed in there. So I would hear like somebody walking in the hall. I hear shoes, because they had like these marble floors. I look out there, it stopped, nothing. I said, yeah, that's unusual. So, well, the thing that really scared me is I had a futon on, I was a futon I was going to pick up. I
Hmm.
said, I got to get somebody to help me get this futon because, like I said, I'm not going to sleep on that Murphy bed. But say I have anything to sleep on, put a sheet over the mattress and stuff. And I said, well, I ain't sleep on it tonight. Pulled it down. So you could see this whole apartment. There are like five windows. There's the
Hmm.
bathroom and a kitchenette. So from the living room where you're sitting, you can see the whole apartment. So I'm laying there, the door's locked, and I feel like somebody sitting on the edge of the bed, and they lay next to me with their back turned to me. And my first thing in the neighborhood, and I said, somebody broke in. And I said, this idiot is going to lay on the bed next to me. And I'm getting prepared to turn around and fight whoever it is. I'm like, my heart's beating out of my chest. I said, this is on the edge of the bed. I said, this is crazy. And it's like they're laying on the bed. I turn around and it's the impression of somebody on the bed. And it leaves the bed like the weight and everything.
Wow.
And there's my heart was about to jump on my chest. And I was like, it's trembling. And I just sat in the chair. I didn't get back and lift up that Murphy bed. And I said, I don't know whose bed that is, but I'm not laying on it anymore. I got the futon the next day, and I was awake till the sun came up. I've never seen anything like that before, and I
Yeah.
said, "This place was haunted." So, and,
Yep. And
and I
I
have a
do.
theory about that too.
Yeah, I do believe it and all that stuff. My wife, I never personally heard this, but my wife said in the house that we lived in for quite a while, every couple nights or so, she would hear somebody say "mommy," and then she'd feel a poke, and she would get up and go check on the kids. Kids were all asleep in their bed, and she could never figure out where it came from. And then just after, I don't know, 6, 7 months or so of this, it just quit, and she hasn't heard it since and hasn't felt it again. And I never heard it, but I don't know. Maybe it was just the mama instincts in her, or maybe it was something. I don't know. But
And
there's all sorts of weird stuff.
another thing happened in that apartment. I was um I was working a job that like an extra job. I get there
Mhm.
late at night on the futon before I made it flat, turn it from a couch to bed, and I was falling asleep on the futon with the TV on, and I heard somebody say my name. They said Ron, and so I'm thinking I'm falling asleep. It must be going into dream sleep, and
Yeah.
they said it again, Ron. I felt the breath on my ear. I grabbed my
Oh,
ear and turned around. Just nothing there. Nothing there. And when I left, I told the guy, I said, "Your apartment's haunted. It's haunted." Well, it's just an old building. All I did was rehab it. But my theory with that, and I've had guests on and stuff, and they said that you might be trapped between dimensions because you've been told that you're going to go to hell. Certain religions tell you you're going to go to hell. You're going to go to hell. You're going to go to hell. And it's very confusing, and so you don't want to go for the retribution. Nobody's perfect, but you think you're going to go to hell, and so you're trapped between those two worlds because you don't want to leave this one and go to the
yeah.
light. And I had one person on there, yeah, some people are afraid to go to the light. And I said, well, some people have been trapped for years. And they said, yeah, it kind of lose their way to it. And she she was like a psychic medium. She said, you know how I get them to go to the light? She said, I have them follow me to the hospital. She said, because you can't miss the light there. People are dying every day in the hospital. I said, I never thought of that. Yeah.
That's
She said,
true.
"So I'll be coming in the hospital," she said, with several people behind me. Nobody could see them, you know, just like I'm strolling to the hospital or go- going to get something to eat in the cafeteria, and they get to finally see the light, because she said they can't find the light. So
Wow. Yeah.
I think, and when somebody told me that, I looked up and they said, because my grandmother said as a child and stuff, God loves you, but he's a jealous God, and he'll burn in a lake of fire forever. And I kind of confused as a kid.
Mhm.
Somebody said, try to find the word hell in the Bible. It only appears one time. It's Gehenna, and it's outside of Jerusalem where they used to
Mhm.
burn the trash. There was a lake of fire because you didn't have a dump then. You had a dump, you burn the trash. It's
Yeah.
outside Jerusalem, and that was the lake of fire right through there. Uh, and she said pretty much it's a human concept. And I said, I had thought about it. I said, why does God want revenge? He was like, that's a human concept. We want that. And I
Yeah.
asked her on the show too. I said, do you think Hitler's in hell? Just as a possibility he's not.
I will tell you, I had a guest on, and she was a medium, and the way she described heaven, it just seems so true to me that I had no no choice but to kind of believe it. And she made this comment about how there's different dimensions of heaven, that it's not like, you're not walking through the pearly gates and then poof, you're all among angels. She said there's dimensions to it, and
Mhm.
how you move up in those dimensions, she's not sure. She said the only part she has seen is the fifth dimension, which is the very basic, the very beginning. And she said that there's a person there that is not human, that kind of schools her and gives her info. And he also helps when people want to talk to somebody on the other side. He helps bring those people to her so that she can communicate. And I said, well, I said, so how is that, depending on how good you are? And she's like, I really don't know. She said, because I have I have I've brought murderers, child molesters, all sorts of people to um able to talk. And she said, I cannot talk to anybody that's in hell. And she said that what I have learned from talking to people on the other side is if you were a dick here, you're a dick there too. That it doesn't change. You just, who you are is who you are. And I was like, man, that makes a lot of sense. You know, it would make sense that there's different dimensions, and maybe what she's calling fifth dimension of heaven, maybe it's not truly heaven. Maybe that's more like, the holding area, or um, just kind of the place that you're in between, waiting to go wherever you're going to go. And it does make a lot of sense the way she talked. She had me convinced. I will admit that.
I I believe, and from the guests I've had and stuff, that you know I thought I probably would never, but you evolve if you listen and then you kind of study. It's hard to let go of beliefs, and I was baptized, and I'm of no religion now.
Hmm.
See, yeah, and then when I say I have no religion, people say, well, you don't believe in God. I said, oh no, that's not true. I said, first of all, call it the Creator.
Hmm.
So I can't give it a men's sex or woman's sex.
Right.
I think it's far beyond that. Whatever it is, I said, just call it the Creator. And I said, and you say, well, how can you believe in God? You don't have religions. I said, but religions are. When I had Howard Storm on the show, and one thing he said, it was like, he didn't believe in anything. And he just yelled when they were torturing him, whatever beings there was and stuff, torturing him and disemboweling him and everything. He yelled out for Jesus. And Jesus appeared and helped him, and he talked to him. And pretty much he said, what religion should I be? And he said, whichever one brings you closer to God. I never believed as a kid that other religions were going to hell. I couldn't believe that.
Yeah. Me
Couldn't,
neither.
yeah, I couldn't believe that. That didn't make any sense to me. Is when anybody had the right thing, So, and at a point where as Catholic also too, it was a thing it couldn't confuse. They said, people that commit suicide going to hell. I can't believe that either. Too couldn't
So
believe that either.
she had a comment about that too, and
Hey,
it does make sense. So what she said is that the souls, which is your energy, right,
mhm.
does get reincarnated, right?
That's what I believe in. I'll
And and
reincarnate.
and she said that you pick lessons for yourself to learn
That's what I believe.
before you even get into the human body, and it may not even be human. You may be an alien or something else, because she said there is a creator, and it's not about religion. She wasn't a religious person either that said that the Christianity is the right way, which I believe all religions are man wrote, and they are all
Exactly.
changed and translated in different ways. So I
Hmm.
do believe in a God. I believe that we're all praying to a same kind of God, creator. energy, whatever it is, right?
Hmm.
But she said that the only thing that can change your plan is suicide. She said, all the way down to no matter what you do, you will not be able to deviate from your original plan that you made for yourself unless you decide to take your own life. They said, and she said that they talk about how you're supposed to die and everything else. And when saying that, it makes a lot of sense,
Hmm.
because I can't imagine that there's no normalcy to suicide, you know? And so I can't imagine that anybody would say, okay, in my next plan, I'm planning on hanging myself at the age of 26. I just can't, that doesn't make no sense to me. But it does make sense that your plan can be changed in certain ways. And suicide would definitely change it, you know? She did not say whether you go to heaven or hell. She did say there is a hell. She said she has not seen it and doesn't want to. Um, but she said how all this started for her was she committed suicide. And when she went to the other side, that thing that she was saying that has been teaching her just looked at her and said, "It is not your time. You need to go back."
Now, isn't and I have a theory on that.
Mhm.
Maybe what we're calling hell is the absence of being with the creator.
I That would make sense.
Yeah, the absence of. I don't. Yeah, and that might be my thought, but I definitely have evolved in reincarnation because one of the questions I asked when I was a Catholic, I said, suicide's a mortal sin, right? Then how come Johnny can get a gun and shoot me and take end my mission here on Earth, but I can't end it? It's like, that makes no sense to me.
Yeah.
How does he get free will to end my mission? And I'm not supposed to end it, but he gets the ability to do it. I had a guest on, and I think what's her name, Barbara Lang, I think. And she had this thing like 16 or 16 signs or something like that to to get in, figure out what your past life was.
Mhm.
See, the things you say in jokingly gives you a clue. And I would say, somebody would ask me and joke around, "What are you doing?" "What are you doing?" I said, "Well, it's a king in the past life, but I didn't get along with the people, didn't go get close to them, and stuff. So there was," I said, "there was a coup d'etat, and I end up in this life." And when she said that, she said, "Think about the things and choices you made." I said, "I grew up in the projects in Cleveland. Came a social worker. My first job was in that housing project for 7 years. Then from then on, think about the other choices you made." I said, "I never wanted an administrative job or desk job." I said, "Work with child abuse, senior abuse. I work with homeless. I work with people
Yeah.
who are in recovery, with veterans in trouble, homeless vets." And I said, "Pre-release centers." I said, she said, "You've always chosen jobs where you were forced to work and be closer in that group. This is your lesson to learn." It's like, said, "Did you get chances to move up?" I said, "I got a chance a couple of times. I hated it." And it was back, and in my mind, I was some type of field soldier
Mhm.
because I didn't learn how to be close to the people then. So I
Yeah.
had to. Those people had to be, there were kids that sold drugs, people on drugs. It was just like the list went over and over, and that like, so everybody you decided to work with because you didn't learn that. You said as a joke, you might have been a king somewhere. It's just like you didn't get along with the people. Now you have to be close with them. So, lesson learned.
Wow. Taking that theory and bringing it to myself, right? I never grew up ever thinking I'm going to be a soldier. I became a soldier out of couldn't find a job. All the way through high school, I was going to be a professional football player. You know, and then when I realized that wasn't going to happen, I decided I was going to be a criminal psychologist. And then I realized you have to be smart for that too. And so that didn't work either, you know? And so I couldn't afford college and I ended up going in the military. And and if you was to ask me the things that I have done in my life are things that I have never in my life ever grew up thinking I was going to do. I never thought I was going to go in the military. I never knew I was going to be deployed for 68 months. I never knew I was going to lead to writing a book about it. And I have a bunch of English teachers that would laugh if I told them I wrote a book right now. You know, I was not that student. So it is weird because these are all things that I did not think about doing, but it's a path that I was put on, and each of those steps led to it. So if I didn't plan this, you can't tell me that everything I'm doing right now, it had to have been planned by somebody. It might not have been me, but somebody planned it. It's not fate.
Right.
And I think I think that goes to show the theory of you do plan your whole life, you know? So, and dreams fascinate me. They really do. Um, at the end of the day, I believe that when you are dreaming, you are reaching somewhere else. Your mind is connected to something. Um, maybe not always. Maybe things that happen during the day or your life or whatever can also play a role in that. But sometimes you have dreams and then it happens. You see it happening and then it does happen. You know, there's a lot of things that I feel like touches another part of your whether it be your soul or another part of your mind that we don't use. And it's fascinating to me when you start analyzing people's dreams. But there is definitely there's more to it than just, oh, that's just your mind unwinding.
Excuse me.
Oh, you're good. So I think I think if you get all these people around, right? And I didn't know you before this episode, and the people that we're talking to are completely different. But some of what they're saying is the same, you know. Some of the things they're describing are the same, and I'm a firm believer. If you got enough people saying the same thing, well, they're not probably not all lying. So yeah, I think we're on to something. Um, and I do believe in energy because there's too many there's too many unexplained things that aren't necessarily psychic. For example, we'll take you're in the military and you're out on a mission, right?
Mhm.
There is tons of decision making processes that are happening. Step here, don't step there, go into this building, go left, go right. None of them the outcomes, right? But that gut feeling that you get that says, "I shouldn't be here, I should be there." And then you see something happen in that spot that you were thinking about going and changed your mind. Um, that feeling that somebody's in the room with you, like you were talking about, you know, those types of things come way deeper than just intuition, you know. That is your body reaching out and feeling different types of energy. and saying, "Hey, I shouldn't be here." I,
Almost a warning sometimes.
yes, absolutely. You know, um, and I've had that happen quite a bit. You know, there was a lot of times I was not far from mortar rounds that had came in, and had I walked a different path, or had I went to the bathroom at a time before, um, the building get hit. So I do believe in it, and there's a lot to it that we can't explain, but there is something there. Um, I don't know about UFOs because I mean I do believe in them, but I don't know as if what everybody is talking about, especially with the government now and Congress talking about them as much. I don't know if that's what we're talking about. There is zero chance that we are the only planet inhabited, but
Hmm.
I don't necessarily believe in the little green men and the aliens and that type of stuff. Um, but there's something out there, and I do think eventually we'll figure that out. But let's get into a little bit with your book. Where did the decision to actually become an author and start writing about the paranormal come from?
Even before that, the first book I wrote, it's a social work book, and you can also find it on Amazon. I wrote it with a gentleman named Alan Huff, and it's called Style Over Substance: A Critical Analysis of an African American Teenage Subculture. And
Mhm,
I wrote that as a young social worker. We were going to conferences, and we were working with that group of kids, and that was my first job is first 7 or 8 years and stuff. And I was even assigned in a high school that I graduated from. It's
mhm.
like you said, the things you wouldn't believe that would happen.
Yep.
I remember as an old teacher in there that was there when I was there. Um, when I graduated from high school, and I was there, and I was doing outreach in the high school as a social worker 3 days a week in there, Monday,
Mhm.
Wednesday, and Friday. So I walked past them, and this couple looks at me and says, "Mills, are you still in high school?" And I said, "Yeah, one more credit and I'm out of here." I was like, "One more credit and I'm out of here. You're done when you're done." And he was like, "You dumbass," thinking to himself,
Yep.
he he believed I was still a student until one day he saw me in the teacher's lounge getting coffee. And he said, "What the hell are you doing?" I was like, "I'm getting a cup of coffee." He said, "Oh, you're out of here now. It's criminal for you to even be here. So you're out of here." One of the teachers told me, he's a social worker here, and he said, "Yep." And I couldn't believe it because like you, I was going to do something else.
Yeah.
Going to do something else that had a lot more money involved in it.
Yeah.
But I know how to path, and it was easy for me to be licensed in Ohio because I could not be grandfathered in. I was one of the first people to take the test when
Mhm.
they said be licensed now. I don't remember the test and passed it in the upper percentile and
Mhm.
got my license, first thing out. Never take the test again and stuff. And the funny thing is, when I was asking one of the professors, I was like, they did this test. And I said, I'm in trouble and stuff. I said, can you get they had a teaching manual on and stuff. I said, the clinical stuff drives me crazy. So it was like, yeah, well, I said, ask one of your colleagues for the teacher's manual, and they didn't get it. The teaching manual, what they were going to ask you. All I can remember is
Mhm.
105 questions. And I remember that professor told me, you need to calm down. You've been doing this for 2 years, right? 2.5 years, been a social worker for 2.5 years. And said, okay, look at it and who is scared and who they wrote it for. Not social workers who look like you, but just said, make the decisions other social workers would make, in that line and stuff. Give yourself a different name and the thing. She said, take a shot of something. You drink? Yeah, I said, drink a little Jack Daniels. Said, take a shot of that before the test. So I had the number two pencil and said, because we had to drive down to Columbus to take it,
Mhm.
Cleveland. So the night before, me and another colleague drove there and stuff, and we got rooms and stuff. So we had taken the lobby of I think it's a Holiday Inn, where everybody's watching with the number two pencils. They could do it online now. I'm telling my age. They could do it online, get the results immediately. The number two pencil and stuff. But I took a shot of Jack Daniels because it had like a pint of it, and it took another shot and another shot. And literally, when I got there, my colleague was saying, "It's like, hey, Miss So and So," and she's like, "Oh my God, you're drunk." I said, "No, I'm not drunk. I take it." Did you eat something? I said, "No, I just like take the test." Did thinking to myself, and I kid you not, I fell asleep like on question 75. Oh, really? Yes. And the guy next to me tapped me and said, "Hey, wake up!" And I was like, "Look at your own paper." We get back. I sleep on the ride back and stuff. She knows I'm too drunk to drive, so I'm mad at the professor that told me. I was like the doctor so and so. I know I failed the test. You told me to. I didn't tell you to get drunk. I told you to take a swig of something to your nerves. Like, we get back, get the test and stuff. I passed. The person that went with me that was sober as hell felt me. It was like, wait a minute, you did not pass. You were drunk. You're drunk. I was. So everything that conspired for it to happen and me to be in that line of work always did.
Yeah.
And I don't know how, because it was what I chosen to
Yep.
do, the lesson to learn.
Yep.
So everything conspired and worked out that way. I said I was licensed. I was LSW, my college things. So, uh, but I was every time I was working with those groups in the field, always
Yeah.
because I wasn't comfortable anywhere. Because somewhere in my mind, that's what I had chosen to do. But and that's what I think. I think not only that, also what we talked about reincarnation. When do you recall yourself and your mission is finished? I believe people know, and people that have been assassinated. This was what I was supposed to do. That's it. You know, they had to go into history. Lincoln, Martin Luther King.
Yeah.
That's it. This is the end of the line for me. King knew it in his speech. He's like, I'm not going to be there with you. That's it, as far as I go. This was
Wow.
what I was supposed to do. Yeah, I'm going.
Yeah.
And check yourself out. I think that, but when angels, when I start talking about angels and I start thinking about right now, it came from I worked this other job and I come home late at night and stuff, and then that was with Child Protective Services. You get the police kick in doors during the crash, but
Did I lose you?
they, yeah. As far as so, I was watching this at these prayer cloths, put his hands in there, but a picture went. Yeah, so he said some type of incantation or something, and that you send him $5, you're gonna send his prayer cloth back. They heal you and protect you and all this. And I said, that's a bunch of bull. I'm thinking that's a bunch of bull. And I said, but people have been known to heal other people, and miracles have happened. And I was like, and I said, how would we really react with a miracle, and how would you be in this modern day be able to explain it? or would you hide it? Would you, if you had the power to heal somebody, would you hide it? And it's like,
No.
with everything that's going on, you might create a scene around you. Oh, what if ordinary people got this power? And that's why I got the idea to write that book. And I was like, okay, so that'd be an interesting thing, and then start getting the ideas and writing down notes and everything. And it was maybe 3 or 4 years to get it together, to do that. And I thought I always had a vivid imagination growing up, so I could do that. And I
Well,
said
you
I
know,
wanted to be ordinary people. Yeah.
I don't think you're far off from that. I really don't. You know,
As what?
if you think about what you just said, would you give, if in today's world, I mean, now today's world is crazy, would you tell anybody about a gift like that? And originally in my head, I said,
Hmm.
yes, I would. But then you have to ask yourself, well, how does that change your life? Can you heal people while they're shooting at you because they think you're the devil, or whatever is going on out there? Just because there's so many people out there right now that just they don't believe in anything, you know. And when something unexplained like that comes, it seems like any big news article just throws this country in a turmoil. And I don't know that now would be a
Hmm.
good time to announce a gift like that. Um, I would still help people. I just don't know that
Think of
I
all
just
the
don't know
sick
that
people that want to touch you, or we want you to.
yeah, you know. You would have to use the gift.
Yeah,
That is for sure.
it'd be a horde to you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean,
And
and
what would it do to an ordinary person?
I man, that's a tough question because
Hmm.
if it if that person was ordinary good person, meaning they genuinely cared about their neighbors and stuff like that, I think it would be a great gift. But you give that same gift to, I don't know, a guy that's became a CEO of a company, and I would have to guess that the odds go down that that gift gets used for the same good versus self wealth and self growth and power and everything else. Um, you ask yourself, and I'm not a political person. I tell everybody I'm politically homeless, but you have to ask yourself if an ordinary person like me or you was given that gift, I think the odds are higher that we would use it to help somebody than if that gift was given to, say, a president, a congressman, or somebody like that power is needed for their positions. I just don't know that I just don't know that everybody would use it for the right purposes.
And that's what
Uh,
I was thinking when I saw that minister. I was like, if you really had that gift, you wouldn't want anybody to know. And you charging them $5 for a strip of prayer cloth that you say to heal him. I was like,
yeah,
yes, he doesn't have nothing. And I said, if you really did, you probably would go to hospitals and touch people, heal them when they didn't know it,
yeah,
and leave.
yep,
I think you'd want to be kind of quiet about it.
yeah,
But
yeah,
I give three different versions of it, three different stories with ordinary people in there, and my
mhm,
thoughts about just kind of like, and it's a fictional book. That's what I would think. But angels have always they've been very interesting to me because if you believe in the Christian Bible and you in Genesis, it said, "Let us make man." So they were there before us.
mhm,
excuse me, I'm still getting over the COVID, but they were there before us, and and I said, God made them before us because they're sitting there with him, you know.
Yeah. Yep. No, yeah, you're
What
absolutely
a
right.
creator, yeah, according to the Christian Bible, and they have super strength. um, Great warriors, messengers, and I said, they're kind of a contradictory in themselves and stuff. And he's given them the gift to decide: do you want to be here with, with me or not?
Yeah.
Free will,
Yeah.
just like we're given free will, they're given free will. And I thought it was a very interesting contradiction for anything. So I had to give it being like that free will. Then find out that the Watchers in the Book of Enoch, one of the apocryphals, was taken out. So because when I was going to church, a little boy, the minister would say, "David slew Goliath." It was and I was like, "So there was giants then?" He said, "Yeah, giants are everywhere." I was like, "Where did they come from?" They were just there. That doesn't make any sense.
No,
If you
it
took out the
doesn't.
Book of Enoch, yeah, the Book of Enoch explains there's this group of, because there's tiers of angels called the Watchers. They were supposed to come down, teach men about the planet. When to
Yep.
plant and when to do certain things. They came down, they saw women, they took them for themselves. They
Yep.
made it with women, and they had children. And they were half angelic beings, and the children grew to be giants, ate the fat of the land, ate the men. They also taught men things they shouldn't have taught them: metallurgy, astrology, um, you know, I'm sorry, makeup,
You're
but and God had disapproved these things. So they knew they were going to be in trouble, so they
yeah.
went to Enoch, who was a prophet. When you look in Genesis, you have begat, 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 and Enoch is
Yep.
in there. So they want Enoch to make the case for them to God, so God won't punish him. Enoch is a prophet. He does get the chance to talk with God, and he makes the case for the Watchers. And God's not hearing it and say it's done. Okay, they're going to be, cast into the ground and everything and stuff, covered up, until the end of days. So he said, what about their children? The giants that are running around there, he said, don't worry, your great great grandson will take care of that, which is Noah with the flood. So there is the giants. Where are they now? And it explains that because most ministers weren't going to read the books they took out. So it
Yeah.
explains that to me. But as a kid, I want to know, where did giants go? Where are they at?
Yeah.
They were there. So, but they wouldn't read any other types of text. So,
Yeah.
and that showed that angels had this free will, and they could decide to be a god or not.
Hmm.
And we know that because people, they're afraid of angels, you know, having free will. We know that they said there was an angel that turned bad and was the leader of the other angels, the morning star, Lucifer.
Yep.
Uh, yeah. So, and he took a third of the angels with him. So, but I thought it was very interesting when I was reading that and research. I said, angels can have free will, and I even created a character in the book in the second and the second one in Good Intentions and the story Good Intentions that was a fallen angel, you know, and that character's in there, and he was the angel of disease and pestilence. So, but taking that's when my little stuff for angels, and I had people in there, and but like I said, my as far as religion, I tell people I'm no religion, and most people say, "So you don't believe in God?" I said, "No, no, that's not." I said, "This is too perfect." What do you mean it's too perfect? I said, "It couldn't happen from evolution." What do you mean couldn't happen from evolution? I said, we're on our bodies are 70% water. We're on a
Yep.
rock that's 70% water. Um, we breathe out carbon dioxide. Plants take in carbon dioxide and breathe out oxygen. We take in oxygen.
Yeah.
Um, we're an animal that should be not top of the food chain, but we're an apex predator, and we can kill any animal on this planet. We can fly faster than any animal, swim faster than any animal in our machinery. Uh, we need to be entertained. We dream. I said, so it makes no sense to me. And I said, everything, we're on a rock that has one of the most perfect moons ever.
Yeah.
Most moons are not like that, and there's only one. And I said, and it's reflecting from the sun just right to light up the night. It goes around the earth in 28 days. A woman's cycle is 28 days. I said, just what just happened to the eclipse. They kept saying over and over with the eclipse. They said, well, how is the moon able to block out the sun? They said, well, because the sun is 400 times larger than the moon, but it's 400, it's what is 400 times further away than the moon. The numbers are even and even. I'm saying
Yeah.
even and even. 24 days, I mean, 24 hours, for us to circle
Yep.
and turn around. 24 hours in a day, 365 days a year and stuff, evens up and stuff, just one. I said, it's just too perfect. It's too perfect. We're on a rock that's not too cold, not too hot, not too far away from the sun.
Yeah.
Uh, we need sunlight, you know, to create certain minerals in our body. I don't like it. It's just, and I said, if this happened by evolution, do you know mathematically the amount of things that would have to happen in sequence for us
Yeah.
to get here? And I said, and if that's true, it happened in linear sequence. This would happen, 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 this would happen. In linear sequence, where's to get here? I said, nah, I said, creator, I don't know exactly what God is. I don't think it's a human being.
Yep.
Like you said, energy. I think it's
Yep.
energy. It's everywhere. Somebody had on the show. They had a near-death experience, and she said, she asked, "Where's God?" They said, "Everybody always asks that. Here." They laughed at her. Here, right now. Where's God?
Yeah.
And I would just Lucas had in his mind with the Force. It's in you. It's everywhere. It's everywhere, and in everything. It's like
Yeah.
And somebody blew my mind. They said, "What God wants to know is what it's like to be you right now, right here, doing this." I said, "So the Creator wants to learn?" Yes, what it is to be you right here, right now. So, and hell, just but that's and I believe too, if you start putting aliens in it, it would mess up certain religions. God created man in his own image.
Yep.
We're thinking of physical image, but we're made of particles.
Yep.
We're thinking people think constantly of a physical. And I was like, yeah, that don't make any sense. Somebody told me it didn't make any sense. I said, it don't make any sense. There wouldn't be any other intelligent beings on other planets.
Yeah.
I said the creator stopped making one type of ant on this planet. There's many, many different types of ants.
Yeah.
One type of fly, one type of mosquito, one type of. I said, but smart enough to the creator's smart enough to know that men should be spread out just like like ants in different ant tribes. It could be miles away, different types of ants and stuff. Because we're technically all the same type of human being. We don't get along now. You think if they're going to put it, you know, different species of men
Yeah.
on the same planet? I don't think so. I don't think so.
Well, I mean, absolutely.
And I
We're
believe the
not.
government's not telling us, and they've already made contact.
I would agree with that. I'd agree with that too, and I also agree
Hmm.
100% that it would not go well if if contact came for everybody to see, right? Our government is not going to approach
Exactly.
it like, "Hey, how you doing? We just want to be friends." There's going to be an attack. For
Hmm.
why? Because you're afraid. I mean, just because you're afraid doesn't mean the person that is doing something has bad intentions. You know, um, lots of times you open up a door and there's somebody right there about to grab the door at the same time, and it scares you. Doesn't mean that person was doing anything intentionally, and that is not going to go over well when you're not the superior force. you know,
I think about all the time in the past when you look at history and the government knows that. Right.
yeah,
Right. Every every time in the past when somebody's come over with superior technology to another land, it didn't do well for the indigenous people.
it did not.
If they land, we know immediately if they came and they jump wormholes to get here light years away, the technology is already superior.
Yeah,
We know that. We could barely struggle in to get to the moon. We know that right away.
yeah,
And I tell people, I said, I believe they have already contacted our government's heads, and the thing is, they're not ready for it. They're speaking for us. They're not ready for you, because the worst thing they want is them to have a discussion with you or I, average person,
yeah,
because they want to know what did you tell them everything. When I watched Betty and Barney Hill, and I had the niece on my show and stuff, and she was telling the story, captured the Betty and Barney Hill story. She said, Barney was out they had him out, but she was walking around, and she asked him questions. Where are you from? And they said, showed her a star chart. They said, where are you from on here? And she said, I don't know. And they said, why should tell you where we're from? You don't know where you are on here and stuff. So yeah, they didn't. And somebody would be like, right here, is this our sun? We're like this third planet rotating around the sun here, the
yeah,
Milky Way galaxy. They'd be able to tell them, and they'd be able to say where they were from. But that's where we get Zeta Reticuli because they put her under hypnosis, and she is able to redraw that. And they said no star system exists. A a a little astronomer from Cleveland, that did a part-time astronomy, a school teacher, found that when the technology caught up and say, here it is, and matched it up there, Zeta Reticuli. So she found it later. And they had no plans of telling anybody anything that happened to him. And she asked him for a book. One of the helpers there, workers, she said, can I have that book? She said, nobody will believe I was on here. They wanted to give it to her, but the taller alien said no. I think the government is afraid we get information that we shouldn't have. Information they already know. And this said,
oh
because you
yeah,
got thrown it off. Because people in power. And somebody was talking to say said, that don't make any sense. Why would they do it? I said, Can you go up and speak to another person, a national prime minister of another country? Not you. They expect to speak to your other, and they made it so you can't really talk to them. They don't want you
Yeah.
talking to them about America. This is yeah. I said, what's the prime minister of Japan was just here. I said, can I call him up?
Oh,
And can I call him up? No. It's a meeting you got to go to and stuff, but you're not going to be sitting alone with him talking to him. You might get to say two things with the media around, a media blitz and stuff. You're not going to be sitting alone talking with any heads of states because they
yep.
did that. That's power. That's power. I got to
Yep.
keep you away from talking to anybody in power because
Yep.
you got to go through me to go through this. You got to be here. You got to be senator. You got to be president. You got to be another prime minister. Then you got to go there because we don't want to give away power. And the worst thing is you could talk to them, you got information. Because when they're saying it didn't exist, they always had men in black show up at your door asking questions. What'd you see?
Yeah.
What you what if it's not true, I got to answer. If aliens don't exist. But there's always some government officials asking you, what did you say? What did you see? What happened?
Yep.
Because it's like meeting somebody from another planet and talking to them. Did they give you anything? They say,
Yep.
and that's the scary thing that you're talking to them alone, and you get information.
Yeah. Well, and
Because I
again,
believe they already know and they got a lot of information.
yeah, and you can't control the amount of people that the government controls without power.
Hmm.
You have to keep knowledge away
Exactly.
from those people, in order to be able to keep them at bay. You know, if they didn't believe that you could protect them, and if aliens were landing here, we're gonna believe that you can't protect us,
Hmm.
and they're gonna lose everything. So
And God, for being, they were friendly. They talked to and they gave you something.
yeah,
They didn't give the
well,
president, anybody head of state, they gave you something to say, this will help you. You got this disease. Oh, we got this. We'll give you this. It gave you something. That'd be the worst thing in the world. They didn't talk to the
yeah,
president. They talked to
yeah.
senators. They gave you something, or they told
That
you something. You know,
their egos would never take that.
right? That's it. It's like it's not. Um, I believe they're probably they would. The fear scientifically is they have cures for diseases and stuff. That would be horrible.
Yeah,
That would be horrible. And they shared it with you. And
yeah,
I said, I don't want to put any, I don't want to put any bad excursions on medicine and science, but this is what I'll say, and people can judge for themselves. Um, there's a president that said that we're going to fight a war. We're going to fight a war on polio. FDR. He did it January 3rd, 1938. Polio vaccine was available then in 1955, 17 years later in 1953. 17 years, and he was collecting dimes. He was collecting dimes. And we didn't have Big Pharma then. Jonas Salk was kind of working with a little ragtag team. He didn't even patent it. So you eradicated literally a disease from North America, that everybody was afraid of, and one of the top 10 and stuff. And you just did that and stuff. Now, there was another president that said, we're going to fight a war on cancer. He said that in 1971. That was Nixon,
yeah,
53 years ago. It's that we're not even close to curing cancer because,
yeah,
and I tell people, my mom died of cancer. I said, look at what happened. I said, you eradicated something. And I said, that was the worst business model ever because the money is really in treating the symptoms.
Yep.
Treating the symptoms. The money is in there, not curing anything. It's treating the symptoms, making it easier for us and stuff like that. And if you do treat something, it's got to be something that you're gonna be on it forever. And I said, you look at Ozempic right now. They
Yep.
say, oh yeah, it's gonna make you skinnier and stuff, but you got to be on it forever. Might even cure some other things at $1,000 a pop.
Yeah.
So they looked at that immediately and said, that's a bad model because March of Dimes had to turn into another organization. It had to turn into another organization because it put itself out of business. But that's what
Yep.
really we want medicine to do, put itself out of business.
Yeah.
But that's not the way. The money is in the medicine to treat things, so and constantly treat them. You're going to sell it.
Yeah.
Ozempic is like, they said touchdown. You got to use it forever. You go. So,
Yep.
and that's how I agree. The government keeps secrets, money, power, wealth.
Yep.
1% of
Yep.
the planet, 1% of this planet owns the bulk of the wealth.
Yeah. Exactly. And that's where the big fight between cryptocurrency and American dollar is because they can control the dollar with inflation. You know, inflation doesn't have to be a real thing, but without it, it makes it easier for a lot of other people to build wealth.
I and it's just there was a I love Star Trek because Star Trek had they saw a lot of stuff in the future. They saw a lot of stuff in the future. Captain, they had flat screens on there, flat
Hmm.
screens in the 60s. Avor had a Bluetooth in their ear.
Yeah.
They had flip phones. There was the communicators. They said when they gave Kirk something to sign off. Guess what they did? They gave him an iPad. He did it like this. Get back to
Yep.
him. So they saw a lot of things in the future, and I love Star Trek: The Next Generation. And one of my favorite episodes was called "The 300 Years" on Star Trek: The Next Generation. Um, there were a group of people that came from the 20th century. They're in a cryogenic state, and one was a millionaire, one was a housewife, one was a musician, and they said, they kept the millionaire kept telling, I got to talk to the captain. I'm a very rich man. I'm a billionaire. And he was like, I got to talk to the captain and get the home and stuff, And it's, and Kirk was busy. I mean, Picard was busy with some other stuff. Finally, he talked to him and he said, I need to get back to Earth and stuff. And he was like, and, Picard had told him, he said, just, I got a lot of money waiting. And he told him, he said, we don't use that anymore. He said, we've grown out of our embassy. We've eradicated hunger and want. People are no longer obsessed with the accumulation of things. And he told him, he said, it's never been about the possessions, it's been about the power to control your destiny. And he told Picard, and Picard told him, control is illusion. He said, is it? He said, really? I should be dead, but I'm here. Even then, no money. He said he paid his way. Whatever that disease was, they cured it.
Yeah.
He paid his way to be there, but there's no more money. So it's more like, once we found out that there's people from everywhere, other planets and stuff, and just us and stuff, we had to get
Yeah.
ourselves together. We had fought a war. We had to get ourselves together and stuff, there and catch up. But it was like, still with him being back in the 20th, it's about power, money.
Yeah.
Mm.
And yeah, and it will be until that does go away. Um, I do believe one day people will be reunited again, and conversations will be happening, and people will know their neighbors again. I believe that because history does tend to repeat itself, and we used to be that way. And so I don't think things will always stay negative like they are now, where so many people are wrapped up in their phones and everything else. So I do believe at some point, um, Just like they said, we don't use money anymore. People quit
Mhm.
going after materialistic things. They started interacting with each other and knowing other people. And I think that's important. So I'd like to see that. I'd like to see that day come.
Yeah, I would too, but like you said about history, those that don't learn from it are condemned to repeat it.
Yeah, you are right. You
See
are
that
right.
history is giving us warnings, and we could be condemned to repeat it if we don't learn from it.
That
But
is true.
yeah,
Yeah, that is true. Well,
possibly with
Ron,
nuclear weapons, nobody could win.
yeah, you were right. You were absolutely right. And I think again we talk about not learning. Well, here we are again going from the 80s worried about Russia launching nuclear weapons, you know. We ain't had that problem since the 80s. And now we're right back there again. How did that,
Mhm.
how did we not learn from that, you know? Well, brother, I appreciate you coming on, man. I had an amazing conversation. Um, you gave me some things I'm gonna write about and think about because you made some really valid points that I didn't really think of. So I appreciate that. I'm gonna give you the opportunity. I'm gonna bring you forward and let you see and say where they can follow you, places that they can find your other books and this book. And then just let the world know where they can reach out and find you.
Okay. Healers by Ron Mills. You could find Healers: Three Tales of Miracles, Angels, and Lost Souls by Ron Mills. You can find it on Amazon, Barnes and Nobles, all types of bookstores. Walmart sells it everywhere you go. I do have a novella um, that's Kindle and paperback for Healers. I do have a novella that's strictly on Kindle, and it's 99 cents, and it's called Island Alien, and it's about an alien abduction and reabduction. So that's very interesting, and it's for children and teens and uh, adults too. Novella is 49 pages, very easy read. So those are the places you get the book. You still find Style of Substance, critical analysis of African American teenage soul culture. That's on Amazon or African American Images Books. Uh, they still sell them, I still think. So, but take a look at them. I appreciate it. Appreciate the time. Uh, this is done. Thank you for having me.
Hey, I had a great time, man. I love these conversations because you learn so much about other people. So I had a great time. I appreciate you coming on. I'm gonna go and throw you in the green room real quick. If you don't mind holding on for a second, I'll throw the exit video and I'll be right with you.
Okay, thank you.
Yep. Man, I hope y'all got a little bit out of this because I got a lot out of it. I'm going to tell you, it is ironic how many things from podcasting that I've spoke to other people that turned out to be things that he was told as well. You look at the way he talked about the creator. I mean, I completely agree with that philosophy as well. So, but at the end of the day, like I said, until we die, we will not know. And so I want all y'all to be safe. I appreciate all of y'all listening. Y'all take care. Remember, don't let the day kick your ass. Kick the day's ass.